Hello, everyone, and welcome to Spiritual Connections LLC. I am Angelina Johnson, your spiritual alignment coach. And today I have Daniel here visiting us. He's actually on this side. It's mirrored on my thing, so it's always kind of weird which way I point. Olaf is also in the room with us. He's walking around behind me trying to find a good spot to sit. So I'm super excited, you guys, because I have been able to twist Daniel's arm to come here and be on my show, on our show.
I don't know
Um,
about
yeah,
that.
I was kind of laughing because I had this idea last night when you made the group. And I'll explain who is this random person on my show. I'll explain in a second. But I was kind of laughing because we did that group thing, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect because I now have like 30 to 60 people that are all over, not just the US, but I mean, there's some people who are in India, there's some people who are in South America, some people who are in freaking the Middle East. Like, we've got people everywhere in our class. And I'm like, cool, this is awesome. I'm going to be able to bring some people in here. So, for those of you who don't, I think I told you all last couple weeks ago that I'm taking some remedial hypnotherapy classes because I think that we should always be working towards improving ourselves. And Daniel is in my hypnotherapy class. So, without further ado, before you start talking, y'all make sure that you like and subscribe to this channel. Hit that little bell so you get notified every time that I go live, every time I bring a new person on the channel. I'm super excited because Daniel is not necessarily local to me, but he is local to someone. And so this is a great way for him to be able to bring more community into this group. Also, if you're watching either live or in the replay, make sure you leave a comment. Tell us hi, right? So that we know that you like this content, so I know to bring you more of it. Okay, so without further ado, Daniel, tell us about you. Who are you? Why are you here?
Hi, I'm Daniel. I'm from Mars. No, sorry.
That'd be cool. I did
Well,
have a dream about Mars before, so
you did?
yeah, it's not so far off.
It is it. I mean, you've been there.
Yeah,
No,
yeah, maybe.
my name's Daniel Cara. I am a current classmate of Angelina's. How I guess I got introduced into the spiritual aspects of things was just um, well, should we go at the start of things, or do you want to dive into that?
Hey, however you want. This is your time.
Yeah, so I guess I grew up Roman Catholic in a very
Oh,
strict house.
ooh, tell us more.
Yeah, well, I mean, my dad almost was a priest, so
Oh,
but we went to church every Sunday, and something didn't really click right when
hmm.
I was going to church. I'm like, are you telling me if if I do one bad thing or this or that, I'm gonna go to hell and burn for eternity? Like,
Yeah,
that's a real loving God you got there.
right.
But I love anyone who's religious. I don't have anything against them.
Sure.
So what I did is I left. I went in the military. I went in the military for 5 years, but when I went in, I kind of stepped away a little bit from religion and just kind of asked a lot of questions like, who
Yeah.
are we and what is going on? So I mainly became atheist for a long time. I was like, there's nothing out there. I just had a logical mind of things.
Yeah.
But then I had this one instance that I think really threw me for what's the word? Threw me for a loop.
Hmm.
And that was having a sleep paralysis episode. You're familiar
Oh,
with that?
yeah. Okay. So really quick before you jump into that, let me tell you guys something kind of crazy. And to give you kind of some perspective on the crazy, wacky person that I am. So I told Daniel about this yesterday. And so he is here just kind of like spontaneously, the stars aligned and he is here. So I'm super, super excited and grateful. I also want to mention that we're matching, and that is a pure coincidence. I just noticed. And
Synchronicity.
yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. Now, what's really crazy about your story, if I can interject for just a moment,
Go ahead.
is So I was in the military too, different branch, and part of my spiritual journey started in the military and with a sleep paralysis dream.
No.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm like, wait, what? I'm super excited to hear what you're gonna say because I mean, I just think that's insane. So go
Well,
ahead, continue.
yeah, that's okay. I'm not, my mind just blown away.
Yeah,
But
surprise.
let me reestablish myself.
Yeah, I just think that's crazy.
So I don't know. Have you researched sleep paralysis a lot?
Not really. I've only ever had like that one instance,
Mhm.
and I can tell you the story when you're done. It's I think it's kind of cool. But it was only ever that one time, and I actually kind of forgot about it for a long time
Mhm.
because it was such a weird one-off type of thing
Right,
until
right.
I got more into spirituality, and then I was like, "Wait, I've had it. I've had a weird." Okay, anyway, go ahead.
So what happened was I was in a dream and I was going to this night auction, a car auction for whatever reason. I don't regular car auctions at night, just
Hmm.
so you guys know. But
That's a weird hobby. Tell us more.
right.
No, I'm just
But
kidding.
there was this guy walking past me and we brushed each other's shoulders. He was wearing one of those detective hats, like in
Hmm,
the like classic style, and a trench coat.
hmm.
I couldn't see his face. Also, interjection. I do have Invisalign. I got braces recently, so I do have a little
Yeah,
lisp.
that's
Nothing
okay.
against
We
people with lisps,
We
but
totally can't tell. Like, I couldn't tell until you said something, and even then I'm like, I'm trying to hear it, but I don't really hear it. So I think you're good.
okay.
But I think it's cool. We'll talk about that. Okay, go.
Um,
Listening. Sorry.
but
I got
anyway,
ADD apparently.
I think I do. Too. I think I do too.
Yeah.
Um, but I brushed his shoulder, and I had this like deja vu moment, like
Hmm.
in the dream. I was like, I don't you, and I said to him, "Don't I know you from somewhere?" And at that moment, clicked open. I was in my bed. I couldn't move.
Hmm.
To the left of my bed was that same man
Mm.
staring at me. He approached me and started to strangle me. Of
Okay,
all
mine
things,
wasn't bad like that.
mine
That's
was
great though.
absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
um, but
Yikes.
that's what happened. It lasted for maybe 30 seconds. I was actually trying to reach up because, trying to strangle him or try to push him
Yeah.
off
Get 'em
me.
off you.
It lasted for 30 seconds, but it felt like an hour went by before
Wow.
something happened, and I finally regained air, and I was like, "What the heck was that?" And
Yeah.
I started researching, like, Shadow Man Ghost or something, and it pops up. What's
Yeah.
crazy is that so many people have seen this shadow character.
Hmm.
It's actually a common occurrence. So
Yeah, so if I could give you some like what I see.
mhm,
So when people tell me stuff, I see things and I get more information. It's just kind of part of part of me. Okay. So really, you mentioned you're in the Marines, right?
mhm.
And you were living in the barracks at the time.
Yeah.
So um who I see in my brain is not the shadow man. The shadow man's a little bit different. Although what you described like with the trench coat and stuff, that that's similar to the shadow man, but who I see in the barracks room is not the same as who I saw in the dream. So who I saw in the barracks room was another Marine in uniform, full uniform, but like 1960s, 70s era, so like Vietnam War era
Yeah.
fatigues.
That's amazing. Then that's what you saw through channeling, correct?
That's just what I saw when you were telling me like being choked. And so like and I when I'm saying like you know I don't know very much about the Marines. I've only had so many interactions with, anybody in the Marines when I was in airborne school.
Right.
And but way back when, right, they used to, similar to the army, they would buff out their boots, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's what I see, like super shiny black boots. Very like military, hair.
Hmm.
So not very different person. Pretty crazy.
That's what you see, like, when you hear the story, that's what you visualized.
Yeah, that's what I see. But also like this is the past life occurrence. So this is a past life interweaving, I guess. Um, but like that person uh had a vendetta, had something against you. Yeah. They're not just like randomly choking you out. It was like very specific.
Hmm.
Yeah. And we
I
can do
wonder,
more information about that if you want at some point.
yeah,
That's just what
because
I
I was always trying to wrap my mind around it because I at the time was still atheist and I just brushed it off. Was like,
yeah.
as some weird, uh, what's it called? What's the word for it?
Just like a weird flash dream or something.
Well, yeah, or what's it called? A hallucination. That's the word.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Because I did see it when I woke up and my eyes were open, and I did see my entire room. I actually had a couple episodes, but I won't go into all of them because they're
So
pretty.
was that guy that you saw standing over you the same as your dream?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because in my head they're like different.
Hmm.
Weird. I mean, that doesn't mean anything.
I think because I actually was reading this book, and I'll actually show you. It's Robert. I don't know if you heard Robert Monroe. His ultimate journeys. He talks about having out of body experiences.
Who is it again?
Here, I'll show you again. It's called.
Robert Monroe.
Here, if you get a
I
good
love books. I'm in trouble right now because I just went and bought more books. Ultimate Journey. Cool.
He has a 3-book series. He talks about out of body experiences.
Oh man, I could tell you some crazy things about out of body experiences for sure.
But no, yeah, we'll go into it. He described how he was seeing demonic entities in the same fashion. He was out of body, but he was still seeing them. And then what it turns out, it was him in a future existence, a future timeline, have you, his higher self, maybe. I forget exactly the wordage, but he sees Robert, and he actually, because Robert in the bed had fear, he saw something that was fearful.
Right.
But what it actually was, it was something, not fearful.
Yeah.
It's just interesting how that works. And I was wondering, maybe that's what ties in with the Marine thing. Maybe I was afraid, and which I was, and maybe that's why I didn't see the actual Marine.
The actual person. Yeah. Or maybe it was just, maybe both of them were versions of you in a past life. I mean, I have some cards. We could definitely pull some if you want. Sure. My barracks dream was not scary. Because I had a really rough time in the military. I was the only girl in my battalion, so it was really, really tough on me for a while, and so I was horribly depressed. And I was having this dream about this guy who was in the military, and he was just telling me how loved I was, and I've told the story on the channel before, but Daniel hasn't seen that one yet. But just how loved I was and how safe I was and how he was there to keep me safe. And I had a guitar in my barracks room, and he was kind of sitting on my bed playing my guitar, playing just like a soft melody. And when I woke up, I couldn't move or anything like that, but I could still hear the music playing on the guitar. And I could still feel like somebody sitting on my bed, but I was by myself. And I just remember crying, like, because, in that world, you don't have soft emotions, right? You're tough, and you got to be a badass, like you say.
Right. Yeah.
And so I was just like, wow, somebody cares about me. And I was just like crying in the middle of the night. It was a good moment, though. It's something I'll probably never forget.
You ever find out who that was, or?
No, I was similar to you. I was pretty I would say I was more agnostic. Like I definitely believed there was stuff out there.
Right.
But had no idea at all.
right after that actually is when I started flipping into agnosticism. I was like, okay, I mean, maybe. And that's really when it started opening up. I started really journaling,
Mm,
asking like really deep philosophical questions.
yeah.
And then just one day through searching, I stumbled upon a video about past lives, and I looked into it, and I was
Mm,
like, "Is there any evidence for past lives?" Because I never looked into that, and there is.
yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
ton of evidence for it. There's evidence through mediumship, channeling.
Yeah.
Um, there's evidence through. Have you heard of near-death experiences?
Yep.
Out of body experiences, too. I believe proves it because if you can leave your body, that would mean that you have a soul.
So let's talk about this. So I know, but those of you who are watching, so everybody who's watching, I want you to think about something. You are free to ask questions, leave comments, make statements, whatever you want to do on here, as long as you're respectful and kind. You're free to put that up here, and I'll put it on here so you guys can see. Scott has said, "Thank you for joining, and your story is great."
Thank you. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Scott. So we'll put those up as they come. So just know, like, you watching, you are welcome to participate in this discussion. I mean, obviously I like the sound of my own voice, but y'all are welcome to join. Okay, so Daniel. Daniel is writing a book.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you don't mind me throwing that out there
Yeah, go
for
ahead.
everyone here. Okay. So I want you to kind of, if you're willing, to tell us a little bit about, like, what are you talking about? What does that mean? Past lives, soul, like, what are you referring to? Because I have my own idea about what I consider to be soul and what I consider to be past life. I mean, I do a lot of past life work, not just for myself, but for clients as well. I also do something called projected mediumship, which is basically through hypnosis, taking people to their past loved ones so that they can get the closure and kind of have those discussions. I can do mediumship on my own, but for some people, it's a little bit more impactful to kind of do that themselves.
Right. Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit about, like, your take and your perspective on the soul and past lives and all of
Well, I'll start with what I believe, and I do have quite a lot of evidence gathered so far for it. Um, I do believe that we do reincarnate and that we do not actually die
that.
when we pass. Our physical body may die, deteriorate, and leave us behind, but there is a soul, and it's once people get to understand that, get to realize that, I think it would change the whole world
Mm,
if more people would open up to that because there's I mean I even saw it in myself. I was always before that I was acting selfishly. I was acting just for myself and I wasn't happy. Um
yeah.
but once I made the switch, well not the switch, but like once I discovered evidence for reincarnation, that's really when I started taking my life really seriously.
So, when you say reincarnation, are you thinking like Buddhist reincarnation, Hindu reincarnation, the so stupid Western perspective of reincarnation? Tell me
Um,
what you think about that.
well, I haven't.
I shouldn't say that so judgmentally, but like
Oh,
sometimes it blows my mind.
um, well, I think I take it just literally so far because my book is kind of trying to answer that question actually.
Oh,
Um,
okay, cool.
what is it? Is it really how the Buddhists say? Is it exactly I haven't read the literature yet on Buddhism myself. I've
Mhm.
just read evidential reincarnation studies. So I guess my belief right now is solely that we reincarnate and there is there is substantial evidence to suggest there's karma
Mhm.
and what also is referred to as dharma, which is good karma.
Mhm.
There is some evidence to it, but it's not black and white also.
Right.
As the Buddhists and Hindus, I think, if I'm not mistaken, point out.
Yeah, it's really tough because we have, like, because I'm gonna make an assumption. You're not Buddhist or Hindu.
Mhm.
I'm
No.
not Buddhist or Hindu. So it's really hard, like, unless we're like going in and like solidly studying it as a culture and a practice,
Right.
we're just kind of going off of what we've heard and what we think. So for those of you who watch the show, if you are Buddhist or you are Hindu, leave us a comment, educate us, because we are clearly open to learning and knowing more. And I'll again speak for you, and you can disagree if you want, but I hate to appear ignorant. So
Right. True. Yeah.
I would love to have people clarify, because I can just tell you my understanding from the very limited knowledge that I know, because I dabble, you know.
Mhm. Right.
But it looks like I don't have my glasses on, so we're gonna pop this up here. It's a little easier for me to see. So there's enough evidence that could link near death. Okay, so now we're talking about DMT. That is such a rabbit hole, but we're gonna talk.
Right.
Yeah, some people call
um.
it the soul molecule. Okay.
Well, I'm not sure if Adam is what he's saying. Maybe that's what explains away near death experiences. I know it is related to DMT,
Yeah.
and that how you access the other reality is through DMT like experiences. So you can even reach it through meditation.
Right. And through really spicy food.
I
I'm
haven't
I'm
been
really
there. You
yeah.
haven't?
I haven't either, but according to, the dabbling that I do.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what I understand about DMT, and the soul molecule. So essentially, from what I understand, is we all produce DMT, a very
Mhm.
small amount of DMT.
Right.
And when we have these huge stressful, and that's why I say spicy food, because it's triggered by stress,
Mhm.
and not just regular everyday stress, but intense stress. So when we talk about like people lifting a truck off their kid, or um near death experiences, whatever, our body releases an intense amount of DMT, and it releases us from the character and the reality that we experience, right? So like Angelina is a character,
Mhm.
right? But it's not who my soul is, right?
Right. Right.
So in order for me to know my soul, my true soul identity, I would have to release Angelina. And I do from time to time, because it's exhausting being me. Right? So it's kind of
Right.
nice to just let that go for a while. Um but yeah, so and then of course people can take like drugs, right? Because it's
Right.
drugs, and they can take DMT, and they can kind of experience that altered state of reality. But you're totally right. You can do that through meditation. You can do it through hypnosis, something that we call the quantum. You can do it through that as well. So it is a way, but not the only way of experiencing soul. In
Right.
my
And
opinion,
oh
that's
yeah.
over here.
Well, before if you want, I think did I give a good enough
Yeah,
explanation of what my book is on? I can go
yeah.
more, and or do you
Go
want to keep?
ahead. Yeah, you talk as long as you want,
Um,
because this is my show and I get to do what I want.
well, where was it going with that? Yeah, there's some people argue that it's just a neurological response when we
Mm,
have these near death experiences,
right.
but there's evidence of patients hearing conversations in other rooms in the
Mhm.
hospital room.
Yeah.
Um, there's also uh, like they can hear conversations from other people that are just praying about them or talking about them. They can hear it, and they come back to these people and they're like, "How did you know I was saying that?" Because there's no way.
Because you were dead or whatever.
And of course, the skeptic could
Mhm.
say, "Okay, well, that maybe that those people are just making up stories." And it's like there's so many instances
Yeah,
of this happening that I mean, how many people are just making up these stories at the
right.
end of the day? And not only that, there's also if you want to discount near death experiences at that point, you could look into childhood memories of past lives, and there's thousands of cases,
Mhm.
many verified, of children being able to remember their past life. And what happens? There was one story, I believe it was in India. Don't quote me on this, but it they brought the kid to the old house that they lived in a past life, and they were able to describe where it was, what was in the house before they went there,
Hmm.
and all sorts of different details that there's no way a 5-year-old would be able to understand or comprehend.
Right. That's so cool.
Uh,
Have you ever done a past life regression? Like, have you ever experienced your own past life?
I almost did. I actually went before I went to school. I tried going to a hypnotherapist, but he
Hmm.
was more of what they call a scriptotherapist,
Yeah.
and I
Hey, there's
didn't.
a place for those guys too.
They I didn't feel connected with him, so I didn't pursue it. I do kind of feel bad because I did like him as a person. He was a great guy, but I just I don't know, something just put me off about him. I didn't want to pursue it. But how about
Yeah.
you? Did you?
Yeah, so I've done a few. I've so and I have a video where I think that we took that video off. Um or we privated it. But yeah, so I've done my own past life regression a few times, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally. And those ones are a little wacky.
Is it,
But
are you, if I mind it, are you saying that you regressed yourself?
mhm, yep.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's really not hard to do. Also you can set intention. So this is kind of something we experience. Those of you watching, you're not going to know what I'm talking about. But do you remember when we were in class
Mhm.
and our instructor was talking about like sleep is meant for sleeping? And if you intentionally shift your dreaming to healing, then it can mess up your sleep patterns. Do you remember what I'm talking about? And I might have been one you weren't in
That
because I
might
go
have
to
been.
different ones sometimes.
Yeah, I don't remember, but it does make sense. If you focus on something, you're not sleeping, then yeah, it
Right.
would mess that up.
So there's been times where I've like intentionally set the intention while sleeping that I'm going to heal a past life or I'm going to do like a soul something called a soul, what is it called? Um oh my gosh, I'm not going to remember the word. Soul retrieval. That's the word.
Oh,
Which is
I've heard
essentially
that word.
when
I don't know what that is.
yeah, so in this life we experience in every life we experience trauma.
Mhm.
Right? No person goes through this life without trauma. It's just an inevitability. So, soul retrieval is going back in this lifetime first and picking up the pieces of ourselves that have been fragmented over time because of trauma and reacclimating and realigning, recalibrating those aspects of ourselves to be in fullness. Right. And then you can continue going back in the timeline to, you know, different traumas and reclaiming that piece of you. So I've done those through hypnosis. There's been times where apparently I just really needed to remember a past life, and I was walking my dogs and had a past life episode.
No way.
That was a little trippy. um,
And oh, sorry.
no, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. How do you, I guess, differentiate from like just your thoughts and your past life, I guess, memories or your channeling? How do you know?
Yeah, so this is a great question. I'm gonna try to answer it concisely and quickly. So I mean, I've been doing this a long time. Um, when I think too much is when the answer is me, right? So, when I'm just in the flow and I'm talking and I'm doing and I'm experiencing, that is channeling, that is mediumship, that is soul alignment, right? That's coming from my soul rather than Angelina. And I hate talking about it like that because sometimes people are like, "You sound crazy. You sound like you're like schizophrenic or something." And it's like, it's not like that. It's just like this person is me, right? But my soul is separate. My soul is the thing that brings power, that brings energy, that brings healing, not necessarily this, right? This is what lives in this reality, whereas that lives in the true reality. I know that sounds even crazier. I don't know.
I think I know what you're saying because it's described often that you're kind of playing when you're on Earth, you're kind of playing a role,
Right.
and you could be, and it's kind. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around it.
Yeah.
you could have the life plan to be like a terrible person to teach someone else a karmic lesson. So
Mhm.
let's say because someone murdered another person in their past life, then the roles switch in a new
Right.
life to undo karma.
Yeah,
So what
totally.
yeah, that's so when that person's a murderer, he's not his soul probably wouldn't ever think of doing that thing, but in character, I guess, while
Yeah,
he's, playing the video game on Earth, you
yeah.
know, um,
Whatever, the simulation or whatever.
right,
Yeah.
that's what he does, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around, like, okay, well, are they forgiven for that? Do they have to then have karma too, or but that's how it's been explained through my research so far.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, we're basically driving meat suits. I guess I could see that. One of the very first things that I did in my own healing journey is, and something I continue to do to this day, is to release myself from karmic scripts, right? Like how
Mhm.
you call them scriptotherapists. You know,
Right.
Angelina is a script. This is a script that I go off of, right? And the things that I do or the habits I get into, my default, as I call it, is Angelina, right? And that this person is meant to teach and be taught certain things. But as a healer, I don't really want to do that, right? As like when I'm in true soul alignment, I don't want to perpetuate that. I would rather teach people how to break their own karmic cycles and operate outside of karma, right? And so one of the very first things that I did and continue to do is to say, like, okay, hold on, I'm in a pattern. And that's kind of what this channel is all about, right?
Mhm.
I'm in a pattern. I don't like the pattern. Okay, I'm done with the pattern. This pattern's boring. I've outgrown it. I'm ready to move on to something different, right? And that doesn't mean that I don't get into new patterns. It just means I'm continuing to evolve and grow into something different, right?
Right.
Um, Sorry, I don't remember what we were talking about. I got way off on a tangent.
No, you're
Adam threw
good.
me off with the meat suits.
Um, yeah, I think a lot of people there's a crazy story I have. This guy it brings in a DMT though. I don't think it was DMT. This guy at my old work, he was microdosing
Oh,
some type of psychedelic,
mhm,
and he said he was told while there by, I would imagine, a spirit guide or something, that you
mhm,
keep making the same mistakes on Earth. And
mm,
he didn't believe in karma whatsoever. He didn't believe in reincarnation whatsoever. Uh, and it was amazing. It was eye opening that even though he didn't believe it, he was like a full atheist. But he said, "Yeah, I was told I keep repeating the same mistakes." And I think that goes into what you're talking about, where you're following a script.
mm,
It's hard
mhm,
to unfollow that script of like what programmed to do too off a
right.
habit. So
Right. And this is a cool conversation we talked about a couple weeks ago on the channel, which is like the difference between free will and predestination, right?
mhm,
And so the argument that I have for that is it's both,
right,
right? When I'm in default, when I'm playing the character that is Angelina, I'm in predestination, right? Because I came here for a reason, came here for a very, like, that's like the Akashic records, right?
right,
Is this is why I'm here. I gave myself certain outs. I made certain commitments for being on and being this person, right? But if I decide that I'm no longer going to operate in the script and I'm no longer going to operate in default, then I
mhm,
move from predestination into free will. Right.
okay. Uh, yeah, I would agree. What it was described in a different book. Yeah, I'm not affiliated with any of these books, by the way.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's a great disclaimer. And I always say that on this channel, everything on this channel is free. Everything here is brought to you all with good intent, with helpful, hopeful, healing intention. So anything that we share here is just information for you guys to do whatever you want to do with. If you buy these books, we don't get a commission or anything like that. That'd be cool though. But no.
More money, right?
Yeah. Money, money,
um,
money.
but this is the book. It's called Journey of Souls,
Okay.
and it is by past life regressionist. Do you need to see that again, or did you get that?
I got it.
Okay. And he actually does life between lives, not past lives.
Yeah,
So
that's
in the
super
spirit
cool.
world.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super interesting.
It is. But he described it as we have a set life plan, but he described it as being like a tree. Well, actually, the spirit guide in the story described it as being like a tree where there's many different branches that branch out in different directions, and you can choose which path you pick on free will.
Right.
But your karma and whatever else will lead you down certain things. So let's say you run away from a job you were supposed to have, that the opportunity might come up again later in life, or it might not. But if you need to undo that karma, a lot of times that thing will keep coming back. Or maybe you have a relationship that you need to solve the issue on. Let's say you need to understand how to deal with maybe a narcissistic person. Until you understand how to properly deal with that and undo that karma, you're going to keep inviting narcissistic people into your life. So I've had that personally happen to me it seems like every single place I go to, work-wise, I find that personality trait to always be there in some way or another.
So you would love like the segment that I do on boundaries, like because narcissists don't like boundaries.
Right.
The fastest way to get rid of a narcissist is establish boundaries. That's awesome. So I remember your question. So you were asking, how do I differentiate between my thoughts and channeling? So there's a few things. So first of all, I know that it's not me when it's just coming, right? If I'm thinking about it, I know that it's me. And if it's just coming, then it's my soul. Now, the other thing is it's very vivid. So I get it. Like I can see it, I can hear it, I can smell it, I can taste it, I can touch it. It's all of these things and it's not here. Right? So like when you were telling me the story of your dream, I'm seeing it in my head play out. I can hear the sounds going on in the room as well as hearing you. And I can feel the stress and the anxiety coming from you from that moment, right? Like I can see it all happening as if I'm there, but I'm not because I'm here. Right. So I'm in two separate places at the same time.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to come on again because I have so many questions about like how it works because I'd love to write about it, honestly.
Oh, cool.
And it's amazing just because coming from the logical mind, and my mind usually goes like, oh my gosh, this is all baloney. But like there's so much evidence for it, you can't deny it at some point.
It's pretty cool. And it's one of those things that like you definitely kind of need to have some experience with. Like it's one thing if somebody's telling you something and you haven't really experienced it. It's like, oh yeah, that sounds really cool.
Right.
But that doesn't mean it is cool, like, or whatever. But I stopped doing mediumship for a while because people who ask for mediumship readings, they have people who have passed in all kinds of ways, right? Suicide, cancer, drugs, suicide by cop, hit by cars, just all kinds of reasons why people die. And if you're a medium, and not all mediums are like this, but for me as a medium, I can feel that. I can feel that person on drugs. I feel it in my body. It's bizarre. I've never done drugs. I never want to do drugs, but I know what it feels like through mediumship. And so I had to stop doing it because it just started to impact me in really weird ways. So I was like, ugh. And then, all different ages. You've got adults and you've got kids. You've got pets. Pets come through all the time for people. And so it can start to kind of take a weird toll if you're not properly grounded and properly. I'm not properly trained. I'm not trained for anything, you guys. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. Everything that I do, I just like figured out as I went along. Even hypnosis, like I just kind of figured it out.
Maybe in a past life you learned it and now it's become natural.
Right.
I was going to go somewhere with that.
Sorry.
So when have you ever tried to, I mean, I guess you have, but like have a dialogue with these individuals?
Yeah. Okay. So this is something I'm going to tell everybody and anybody who wants to do psychic work, you want to do channeling, you want to do mediumship, you're interested in like developing your gifts, your own unique spiritual gifts. I'm going to tell you this right now. If you are channeling, you must find out who you're channeling with. It is not appropriate for you to say, and I used to do this. So I'm pointing the finger at myself because I used to do this thing and I don't do it anymore and here's why, right? So they tell me, they were telling me, they visited me. Who the heck is they? Right?
Aliens.
Right? Like, you don't sit here and tell me about a conversation you had with them. You say,
Right.
"Oh, yeah, I was talking to my friends, Joey and Scott." I'm gonna tell you who I was talking to or talking about, because
Right.
eventually it's gonna get weird if I just keep saying he or they or them. I'm gonna give you specific information. But when we do channeling and mediumship, we don't often set those same guidelines. Any old buddy can come in here and start talking to me. Like, no, no, that's not how it works, my friend. You need to tell me who you are, who you belong to, why you want to talk to them, why you're coming in for them, right? You got to give me more information. And so I always tell people, right, as you're kind of doing this work, to be very specific. It's not even precise enough to say my guides.
Oh,
Which guides,
yeah.
right? Who? Every single guide that I have that I can call on to help me, I know who they are. I know their names. I know where they're from. I know why they're here with me. They're not arbitrary, right? So it's just a really good rule of thumb. And I don't mean to like wag my finger at you because here I am chastising you. You're on my show as a guest, and I'm like, you're wrong. Um, so it's just
Very good.
really important to like make sure we know who we're talking to, who's talking to us, because right, we don't our knowledge on this earth is so limited,
Mhm.
until we branch out and learn more. So sorry, I don't know why I went on that tangent.
No, you're good. That's important because I fall into that same habit a lot of the times. I know what I'm talking about, but I don't specify, and I always forget.
Yeah. No, it's totally fine because I used to, yeah, all the time. I would just be like, oh, they want me to tell you. Oh, they are here saying this. And it's like, what does that even mean? you know? We
Who's
just,
they?
yeah, like to say my higher self. Well, even my higher self has a name,
Right.
right?
Oh, you know that? Do you know
hmm
your name?
hmm Yeah. So my higher self has a name. My ego self has a name. My guides all have names. my mentors have names. Anybody who comes in, um, like if we were doing a mediumship session and you had somebody coming in, they
Mhm.
would have a name. I'm not always super good at knowing mediumship names because so many names sound the same.
Right.
Like for you, it's somebody named Miriam or Mary or an M name, somebody who passed, but it's definitely a woman. More on
Who?
your mother's side. Hmm?
What is that about?
Somebody coming through for you whose name is like Mary or Miriam or something like that on your mother's side,
Hmm.
who's passed, like an aunt or something. But she's coming through for you. And because I'm not clearly getting her name and she's not really telling me what's up, right? That's just over here, right?
Right.
It's over,
That's just in the
well,
background.
over here rather. So yeah, anyway.
That's
So that's how
that's amazing.
mediumship works.
Um, I guess what is your concept then on reincarnation? Like, what do you, or past, or just the afterlife in general? Like, what do you think happens?
So, my understanding of the afterlife is pretty limited because I do past life regression, but I don't really go too far into like the between world stuff, which I probably could.
Mhm.
And I guess if people were interesting, then I would. Um, what I know and have seen for myself is that it's sort of a waiting place, right?
Right.
You go there and you wait for your soul community to come back. right? Once everybody in your soul community is back, we have the sort of discussion like, what did we learn? What did we do well? What do we need to do differently next time? Um, I've seen I've seen it that way, but I've
Mhm.
also seen it where there's heaven and there's hell and you go to one or the other, right? Um, and I think it has to do a lot with how we live our lives in this lifetime and what we think is going to happen. And our consciousness goes to a place of healing. So
Mhm.
if we feel like in this lifetime we did things wrong and we're going to go to hell, right? For a time we do until we release that and we let that idea go as a consciousness. And then we can go back and be in a healing space. Now, I don't know if that's true. That's just my opinion.
It sounds a lot like what I've come to found, what I've come to find.
Mhm.
Um, what was described to me, I forget if I mentioned this, but that Earth is a learning school.
Mhm.
It was described to me through the books I've read. I've already mentioned them. That's
Mhm.
mainly where I'm getting most of my information was those two books. But it's a book series, so it
Mhm.
goes in pretty deep depth.
Yeah.
Also, I research a lot of near death experiences just on online on forums.
Nice.
But there
We
was
gotta get
one
you some experience, man. We gotta get you out in the field.
in the well, that's
Yeah,
why I'm
out
here
in the
for
world.
to talk.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you want, we could do if you wanted to do a channeling or medium.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be down.
Oh, you want me, like, to give you a message?
Yeah, we could try
Well,
that.
do you know who this is? This Ann
Miriam,
Yeah, Miriam or Mary or
that
Mary Ann. It's
that
definitely an M name.
I I don't know actually anyone named those names, but I've heard often that it could be a past, like someone you never met also.
Yeah, this is definitely somebody on your mother's side. Um, she's just, like, right here. She's just like, "Hi." She's very sweet, and she's got kind of like a light blonde hair, and it's
Hmm.
sort of wavy. Almost like strawberry blonde, but it's very light, very fine hair. Um, so I would ask your mom about this person
Okay.
because I don't know. And now that I say that, I don't know if she was actually related to you or just a very close friend of your mom's. I don't know if you're familiar with your mom, but or her past, but it's somebody, and I get the sense that she died when she was a little bit younger. So didn't necessarily, you might not have known her, but she passed when she was younger,
Hmm.
like a
No.
childhood friend.
Well, sad as it is to say, my mom did pass.
Okay.
Um, I actually had a dream with her in it, though. That was kind of interesting. And my
So is this
sister,
your mom then?
maybe. My mom's name was Elizabeth.
Elizabeth. Okay.
Uh,
Well, this person is telling me like a M name, Mary or Marianne
I'm trying to
or
think.
Miriam.
What's
But she's related to you. She's definitely connected to you. And she's just, and I don't know if the way that I'm describing her makes sense because she might be trying to get a message through you to somebody else, maybe. But she just wants you to know that she's keeping a very close eye on you. And she just sends you sort of gentle, like energy, gentle hugs, gentle love, right? And mostly like, um, it's like, when you're feeling really stressed out and you get that kind of wash over you, do
Mhm.
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That's her.
Okay.
Just saying like everything's okay. And it's like right down the back. Right.
Yeah,
Like
I always get that too. I always
okay.
get that feeling. So
Yeah.
now I know now I know who it is.
Yeah, and she just wants you to know that she's always watching, she's always there. She's keeping you prepared, whatever that means. And she just wants you to know that as much stress and pressure you put on yourself, that none of that stuff is going to matter once you're on your path, once you're on your journey, right? And there's a point where it's like she's right here like tickling me. Like, okay, I get it. Leave me alone. Um and just basically telling you like eventually the learning has to stop and the knowledge has to take its place. and you're ready for that whenever you want. And whenever you're ready to take that in, you're ready for it.
That's crazy because those last two things you said have been on my mind. Like, one, I do put a lot of stress on myself to be a good person and to have a business eventually. But yeah, and then I thought of my life right now as I compared it to, this was the learning stage of my life, but now it's time for me to branch out. And that's crazy that that's been channeled, because that's exactly what I think of right now in my life. I'm thinking, I wrote about it in my journal, like, this is a new chapter for me where I'm not learning anymore. Now it's time to teach, to branch out.
Nice.
So
do you have somebody who is in your family that had a stroke that does this? Yeah, whose hand is like stuck like this? It's on the right side.
I don't think so.
That's bothering me. Stop it.
No, I think my grandma.
Okay.
My grandma, maybe.
Okay. So I think that this is like a maternal line of just people who are present. And if your grandma passed away from a stroke, or she had a stroke on the right side and her hand was kind of this way, it's on the right side.
Okay.
So I don't know if you know who that is. But this is kind of the cool thing about mediumship, is like, once you have some, then others are like, hey, I got something to say too, and hey, let me come in there, and I got a message too, which is great. But this is I think this is your grandma, because your grandma used to write poetry. Is that right?
I actually didn't know my grandma too well, and I wish I asked my mom more about my grandparents. But
have you ever found like a journal from your grandma with, it's like she's got this beautiful cursive handwriting, and
I do remember her. She had nice handwriting. I do remember that.
It's like this beautiful, I think I have nice handwriting, but this is like calligraphy type, just beautiful, skinny scripting, and it's just gorgeous. And so I'm just seeing her like, this is my gift to you. This was mine to give to you, and I'm passing this down to you. It's your turn. It's your time. And she's ready to kind of relinquish this to you. And she's got, I don't know if you do this. Do you have tightness in your jaw?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, stop that. I don't like that. But she's,
what? How did you know that?
Welcome to Angelina Land.
Oh my gosh.
It just like all of a sudden came on, because it's like every time you go to sit down to write, you do that. You clench your jaw.
Yes. Right? That's crazy.
So she's like, stop that. This is a gift. This is my gift. This is not stressful. And she's like holding me here. This is not stressful. Okay. And it's like, okay, I hear you, grandma, but it's a little bit stressful. But she just wants you, she just keeps going like this. Right. And it's with the side that she had the stroke on. It's very tight on this side. I don't know if she had a stroke on this side, but I think that I'm willing to bet she did, because it's here. It's tightness here. And it's like,
I was too young when she passed. I knew she was in the nursing home for quite a while, but yeah.
Well, yeah. See if you can find some of her old journals, because I think that there's part of this that she wants to give to you. Yeah. So when you're doing your writing, to kind of just sit down for a second before you start writing, before you start doing anything, just sit down and ask yourself, like, is it okay for me to write? Is it safe for me to sit down and write right now? And if the answer is no, because the answer could be no, okay, cool. I'm going to go do something else then. Bye. Right? But if the answer is yes, then release that tension and that stress, because if it's the right time for you, there won't be any pressure. Makes sense? But you got to stop grinding your teeth.
That's crazy that you knew that. I don't know
right here. I'm like, and it's intense. What you're doing is intense. Like, that's intense pain in my jaw when I'm in there.
Yeah, it's funny because I went to the dentist the other day, they told me I have like really strong jaw muscles because I clench my teeth. It
Huh.
actually causes tension headaches on my right side.
Okay, so it is on your right side, right here.
Wait, is that what you pointed to at first?
Yeah, so this is I'm mirrored. I know it's really irritating, but I'm mirrored. So this is my right side.
Yeah, that I always get tension headaches and they're related to clenching my teeth.
Yeah.
I imagine it's because of stress.
Yeah.
But
She just keeps saying, "This is not stressful. This is not stressful." Like, it's a little stressful, okay? Like, it's okay. It's gonna be fine. But like
yeah.
maybe like some helpful tips on how to release that stress, you know. But yeah, it's like here and here, that intense. And she just keeps trying to grip my jaw, my chin like this and say, "Stop it." So it's kind of fun.
Maybe it's because of my dude. It might be because of my new braces.
Yeah, maybe
Because
that too.
I've been really clenching now with those.
Yeah, totally. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
find
was
out who
amazing.
Miriam or Mary Ann or Mary
I
Mary
want to
Marie or
say
something weird like that.
I'll have to check again.
But she was like
Maybe
16
Mary
when
Sue.
she passed, maybe Mary Sue, but she was like 15, 16, very young. At least I'm seeing her very young, like teenager, 15, 16.
And she died when she was young.
I think so. Car accident, drinking, partying, being a kid.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to ask for
Yeah,
sure.
I don't know about that. So cool. That's your floor show for the evening.
No,
Yeah.
it's fun. I guess I was watching some of your videos, especially about the one that I really connected with is you talked about how everyone's so disconnected, and that was during the pandemic time, but
Mhm.
still even today, there's
Yeah.
everyone's disconnected. They're all just attached to their phones all the time.
Right.
And I saw in this, uh, or I have the philosophy that the people that will be most successful in life are the people that can exercise discipline, because this world is designed to distract us. That's how people make money.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
I thought that
Here
was
we are
cool.
distracting people. Yeah.
Well, it's for a good cause, a good thing to talk about. I mean, it's better than what's on TV today most of the time.
Right.
But,
No, it's really interesting you mentioned that because the other day I had an appointment in Seattle. So I
Mhm.
live like an hour or so from Seattle. But when there's traffic, it's horrible. Like you can't go anywhere. It's
Oh
it's
yeah.
gonna be like at least a 2-hour drive if there's any traffic at all.
I
So
uh I was in LA when I was in the military, so I know what that's like.
yeah, so LA puts Seattle to shame.
Oh, does
From what
it?
I've heard, I don't know. I've never been to LA.
Yeah.
Um, but there was a car on fire on the
Mm.
freeway. Like somebody's car exploded on my way home from Seattle. And so there's this car in complete, you know, fire craziness. And there's about 6 cars that have been pulled over because apparently there was some sort of accident.
Mhm.
Every single person that was standing out on the freeway, every single one was on their phone with this burning inferno fire. Like it was so hot when I drove by it. Every single one of them was on their phone. I'm like, that's so insane. None of you are worried. Like I'm sitting here like, is that person dead? Cause like that's a big fire, you know? But yeah, they're sitting there on their phones. It's pretty
There you
crazy.
go.
It's a weird
Yeah.
world we live in. But yeah, so what I talk about and what I teach is awareness.
Mhm.
So being in distraction is okay as long as you're not always in distraction.
Right.
Being ungrounded is okay as long as you're not always ungrounded, right? We got to bring that balance place into our lives. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's definitely hard to do because we're habitual in nature, so we always go to the thing that's most pleasurable, and that is going on our phone and scrolling for hours. Like, oh, where'd that hour go?
right. So
Yeah.
this is my favorite thing. So So I want you to pay attention to the words you speak because all words are spells,
I
right?
heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. So everything that you say is a spell. So every time you say it's hard, well, guess what? Now it's hard,
Now it is hard. Yeah.
right? It's going to be hard because it's hard, right? And when you say definitive statements, any I am statements or any we are statements, right? We are habitual creatures. Well, wait a second. I'm not a habitual creature. In fact, I try to be a habitual creature, but it's hard. It's hard to be a habitual creature. Um, right? Like
Right.
my YouTube channel, one of the reasons why it's not, well, it's going to one day be, but one of the reasons it's not, got a million followers. I started this during COVID, before COVID, a little after COVID started.
Mhm.
But one of the reasons why it's not as big as I wish it was is because I didn't post videos as often as I should have. I didn't get into that routine for my
Right.
viewers, right? And I know that. I'm aware. And something that I'm working to repair,
Mhm.
but it depends on who you are and where you're working and what your karma is. Every sign, every birth chart, you've got karma to deal with and to overcome and to heal and to release, right? So it's like one of my favorite things to like start dissecting the words that people use and be like, "Oh, it's hard, is it? Well, what if it
Th-
wasn't hard, right?
This
What if
is
it
what you're
was
talking about with subliminals, right?
yeah, subliminal coding."
Mhm.
Yeah, and this is something we talk about in our hypnosis course too, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Is just switching that perspective away from it being hard or it being impossible or having blockages. So anytime somebody says, I have a blockage, right? It's like, okay, well, do you? What
It's
is
all
it?
in the mind.
Right? Where is it at? Where is it located? Where do you feel that? Because if I have a blockage, I feel where it's at. So when you're saying I get tension headaches on my right side behind my right eye because I feel it, it's right here,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so we know where your blockage is. Your blockage is right here, right? Now we know what chakra that's connected to. That's your third eye,
Right.
right?
Huh.
We know where else it's connected to, which is your root chakra because it's stress related, right?
Where's the
Stress is
root chakra?
root chakra is the lower chakra, kind of like bottom of the pelvis area.
Okay.
And so we know that that chakra, well, I know, you might know, you'll learn that the root chakra is connected to safety and security.
Mhm.
So if we're in stress and worry, we're in two chakras, the root chakra and the third eye chakra, right? So that's easy. We know where the blockage
So,
is. We know how to
so
release it. We know what to do.
So then what is the process? Do you take people into hypnosis, or how do you treat that, I guess?
Yeah, so there's lots of things we can do. We can do hypnosis. We can do something that I call covert hypnosis, which is just talking about it, figuring out like what we're doing right now. This is a type of covert hypnosis
Hmm.
because now your brain's thinking it's going, "Holy crap, this is way easier than I thought. How do I
Right.
figure? Okay, I can figure this out, right?" So it's already getting those gears working. Um, a lot of people do like Reiki or like spiritual healings. They do meditation. Some people do crystal healings. Some people ask their guides for help, which using guides for help and healing is awesome as long as you also are a part of the healing process because you want to be empowered to do the healing yourself.
Mhm. Right.
Um, and one of the easiest ways is just to like release it, right? I don't actually have to stress or worry. What am I stressing and worrying about? Right? My
Right.
book, my
Yeah. Yeah.
writing.
Oh, me? Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, I'm throwing that out there.
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
throwing you into a healing
personally,
right now.
well, it's a lot of things. It's a, I see how the world is, and I have this kind of superhero type mindset of I want to save everybody.
Mhm.
And I see that there's, for one, an addiction epidemic and a mental health crisis in this country. And
Right.
I hope I understand that I can't help everyone. I have to keep reminding myself of that, or else I do worry.
Yeah.
Um, but uh, just being able to help people, I
Yeah.
believe is going to help that, and that's why I went to hypnosis school to fill that void because
Hmm.
it seemed like every job I was going to, I felt like there was a void. There was a lack of fulfillment, and it was the most. I tried to find fulfilling jobs. Like I worked construction so I
Hmm.
could build. I felt like, if I'm building something, at least there's something new and improved. But even then,
Right.
I didn't feel fulfilled. I work now at a nature preserve, helping
Cool.
people enjoy nature. Yeah, it's really
That's
exciting.
awesome.
Uh, and even that, I was hoping to find people who love nature, and my boss was someone who hated nature for some reason.
Weird.
It was weird. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, that's what brought me here is hypnosis, and talking to like-minded people like yourself is so refreshing because
Yeah. You get to
there is
kind of nerd out.
there is hope for this world. It just seems like, especially with all the negativity,
Yeah.
like there is no hope. But I like to say I am optimistic that things
What is
can.
your sign? Are you a Capricorn?
Aries.
You're an Aries. You're a weird Aries. I'm so off with people's signs lately. Not that that's a bad thing.
Right.
One of my puppies is an Aries, and she is not like you at all. She's stubborn and angry and so
Well,
sweet. But she's
I think I was like until I had like I guess my spiritual awakening. I think I was very stubborn.
yeah,
I was very, well, not hot-headed, but I guess
yeah,
very gung-ho about things.
yeah.
I've kind
She's
of
like
set
that.
the tone back a little bit and kind of backed up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you seem like maybe you incorporate more of your moon sign, if you know what that is.
That's one thing I'd love to hear more about because I
Let's
have
talk about birth charts.
I don't know much about it. What is it?
So your birth chart is we have this main sign,
Right.
right? Like everybody has their main sign, their sun sign, or
Mhm.
their rising sign. Or I think it would just be your sun sign because your rising sign is different. So I don't do birth charts. There are a lot of computer programs that will do your birth chart for you.
I've taken it once.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah. So I recommend, and again, I'm not affiliated with this app at all, but it's called the CoStar app.
Yeah, I'll write that down.
And it's pretty cool. It's a free app. I think you can pay for it, but I don't pay for it because I'm cheap. I'm a Capricorn. I don't like spending money if I don't have to.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's a really cool app because you can add friends and add family members, and you can kind of see your compatibility with people on a day-to-day basis. And it explains your whole birth chart for you.
Hmm.
So it's
Yeah,
pretty
that'd
cool.
be really neat. Yeah.
Yeah. So I recommend that to everybody. I'm always like, look at this app. It's so cool. And I've had this app for years and I've always used it and I always recommend it because it's great and it's free. So that'll help kind of explain. So there's three things you need to know. You need to know your birthday, which I'm sure you know. You need to know where you were born and what time you were born.
Mhm.
Those are like the three things. So you'll get like your whole birth chart. So there's 12 houses and there's planets and there's signs and there's all kinds of stuff that's all incorporated in there. As you can see, I don't teach this because I don't understand it. I literally use a computer program anytime anybody asks me, and I let the computer program explain it because I can only know so much, right? I can only do
Yeah. There's so much stuff out there on spirituality. It's hard.
right.
Like I think we're on two different aspects
Mhm.
of it. I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, I think that you're more like, from what I'm hearing, is you're more on the like after side stuff,
Mhm. Oh yeah.
right? Which is great. I'm more on this side, like dragging people kicking and screaming towards alignment.
There you
Great.
go. I mean, it's both are good. Both are good. They have a
Yeah.
good purpose, I think. But
Yeah. So I highly recommend that. And it just kind of helps us understand, if you're doing healing and you're not embodying your rising sign or your sun sign, then it tells you kind of where you're at in your healing process, which is cool.
mhm.
So like I'm a Capricorn,
Yeah.
right? I'm a Capricorn sun, but I'm a Leo rising.
Okay.
Okay. So right now, when I'm here on my channel, when I'm doing open mics, when I'm doing any sort of performing stuff, I'm in my Leo. I'm not really in my Capricorn. It's just how it is, right? There's an
Right. Yeah. Because
embodying
you can be in
different.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're-
When I'm mad and angry, I'm in my Cancer moon and I'm all emotional. And that's
yeah.
just, that's part of it, right? That's part of what it is to be this person. So I think it's kind of cool.
I do notice that it's interesting because I come from a big family, and this is also what kind of convinced me that we do have past lives.
Mm-hmm.
My whole family all had the same parents growing up. There was 10
Mm,
kids, believe it or not.
nice.
Um, each and every kid is different in personality, yet
Mm-hmm.
we all had the same upbringing, the same people in our lives. It's just amazing how different everyone is.
Mm,
um, and that just reminded me of, like, the signs go into that too, but also the just the reincarnation in general, like, because you're past karmas. And I wonder
right.
if that's related to, like, when you're born is how your karma is related to that. I wonder
It's
what's
so
kind
weird because I feel like there's two parts, right? Like I
of,
feel like you could be part of a soul family,
oh yeah.
right? And then I feel like you can come here and just be like completely independent from all that,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And like it's just different.
So I'm trying to remember it. From the Journey of Souls book, they describe that we all have a soul family. We reincarnate not always with our soul family. We always get new parents and new siblings each time. Because if you reincarnate with the same people every time, it'd get kind of boring. You got
Yeah.
to change it up a little bit. Even soulmates, it's kind of funny. You were born with you were created in the afterlife realms with a soulmate. That's your
Mhm.
other half, but you don't always reincarnate with them. You might marry someone that's not your soulmate.
Right.
It just blows my mind. I wouldn't think it would work like that, but that's how it works.
It's so cool because like we talk about the difference between soulmates and twin flames,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? So like this is kind of it reminds me of your dream that you told me about or us about all of us at the beginning of the segment about like you kind of brush past this person and you're like, hey, don't I know you? And I'm curious to know if you feel like, honey, sorry, honey's
Oh,
being
you're right.
bad. To know if you feel like that was somebody maybe from, and then we kind of talked about past lives, but like if you feel like that was somebody that you had recognized because they were a past life person, because you recognize them in the dream, but not knowing where you knew them from.
No, yeah, I don't know. I've always asked that question. Like, I was wondering who this person was. Um, I still don't know. I really don't.
Do you know somebody named Patrick?
Mm, I can't. I want to say, yeah. Yeah, I know one person named Patrick. I wasn't very close to them.
Okay. And this is somebody who passed? I don't think they're
Mm,
passed. I think they're alive.
no, there's one guy that is, yeah.
Named Patrick.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So what I think over here in Angelina land is that Patrick was that person, the same soul. And that's why you recognized him. Same soul, different timeline.
Mm.
Um, and so when you walked by him, you recognized that person. But I do feel like this Patrick person you don't know very well. This is like somebody in your family, like an acquaintance with your
Um,
family, like an uncle or something
uh,
like that.
well, my brother's middle name is Patrick. I don't know if it's
Okay.
that, or there's a guy that was in my high school named Patrick. Both individuals, my brother and Patrick, I actually had disputes with. My brother, I don't always get along with as well. I try to, make amends. I made amends with him, but, and then Patrick, I actually tried. We fought over the same girl in high school,
Hmm.
so That might have been it. I don't know.
Does he work on cars? One of them work on cars? Or some sort
Mm,
of auto, like mechanic type of thing?
Patrick might. I don't talk to him anymore. He might.
Okay.
I think he went to. Last I knew, he went to school for being a cop. I don't know.
Mm, okay. Well, anyway, that's what I hear, right? I heard that it was Patrick.
Hmm.
Whoever Patrick is.
Maybe it was a past life.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was like, so we run into the same souls,
Mhm.
right? Even if we're not like super close to them, we still run into the same souls, right? That's why we have that sort of soul connection, or like that kismet or kindred spirit feel, or even like complete repulsion, right? Like, I don't like this person, I don't know why I don't like them, but F them, keep them away from me, right? It's that same thing. We recognize their soul that exists inside of them. That's what I think. That's what I believe. And so when you recognize this person in the dream, it was the same soul as the person who lives in this lifetime.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy how it all matches up together.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Super weird.
But yeah.
Nice.
Trying to think. I had other questions I was gonna ask you. I guess do we go over, so I was just kind of curious, like did that
No, we're doing a live. You want to say hi?
Oh no, I just didn't want to bother you.
Oh, okay.
My bad.
That's okay.
Okay, buddy.
Anyway,
so
sorry.
you were in you did human intel.
Mm-hmm.
How was that for you? Because that kind of to me, it translated over to doing hypnosis, believe it or not.
Yeah. So it's really cool. So those of you who don't know, I was in the army way back when, almost like a past life. It was so long ago that it was like a whole different person experiencing that world. But in the military, I was airborne and I did human intelligence collection. And so essentially what I learned, not waterboarding, not torturing
Right.
people. I don't do that. That's not in alignment with me. And nor was it ever something I was taught. Right. So my training centered mostly around something called motivational interviewing, if you're familiar with that.
Is that kind of like liaison?
So motivational interviewing is like, so I'm like, I talk with you, I find out what motivates you, what you love, what you work towards, what your goals are.
Hmm.
And I just keep bringing you back to that, right? Like, so what's getting in the way of you not writing your book, right? So we keep talking about, keep fleshing out, keep bringing those things out until eventually there's nothing left and you're writing your book. That's motivational interviewing.
And that's
And
what
it's
you're doing now?
that's what it is. That was just an example.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm not necessarily doing that now unless I guess you want me to, but Olaf.
Well, I meant like as a career now, that's kind of what you're focusing on.
Yeah, so I definitely use those skills a lot more now. But I guess the only difference is like I don't take that interrogation mentality, I guess.
Mhm.
And obviously I'm not like I don't play dumb.
Right.
Right. When I did interrogation, I would play dumb all the time. Like, I just don't understand how bombs work. Please tell me. Right. So I don't have to do that now in this arena, which is cool. And you know how we were talking about like the maternal and paternal thing.
Right.
In this work, it's cool because I get to kind of embody that sort of sacred alignment between the masculine and the feminine, and just kind of be myself without worrying about sounding domineering or controlling or whatever, because part of this work is you have to be in control and you have to be a little bit dominant, right? You have to set those boundaries, and those things are okay. So what I love about what we're doing, what we're working towards, right, in our program, is it's mine. Right? It's yours. You get to do whatever you want to do, whatever you want your business to look like, whatever you want your book to look like, whatever you want your clients to look like. You get complete control over that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so obviously in that world, you get what you get, kind of a thing. So
It's what I'm trying to say.
I know we've been talking for a long time. The brain starts to die after about an hour.
You broke me down through interrogation. No, okay.
The influx of message units.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the schooling. I like it because I do like that they set you up too to start your own business too. I'm
Right.
excited for that. I'm kind of that is another one of the stressors you were talking about earlier.
Mm.
Just starting a business, it's going to be hard, but I have some ideas, and I was going to share it in that chat actually too, some brainstorming ideas to help everyone out because
Yeah.
help everyone out to be successful. I hope everyone passes and everyone's successful.
So I can tell you what I do because even though I'm in school and I'm taking this course and I'm learning so much, I am a practicing hypnotherapist and I do see clients. I see clients part-time right now because I'm
Right.
also getting a music career up and running. Yeah, I have a lot of things going on and I've got the YouTube channel. I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess. One of the things that I have done in the past that I no longer do. So I don't promote my business. I don't pay for ads. I promote my business like when I'm talking to people.
Right.
But I don't pay for ads. I don't do any of those things. And here's why. When I was promoting my business, I was getting a lot of people who they didn't want to put the work in. They were looking for like an easy fix. It wasn't the universe bringing me the right clients. It was me trying to force and chase money.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And it turns into a bad situation. It doesn't make it enjoyable.
Right. It becomes too pressure filled. Right. And so when I stopped doing that, I stopped paying for ads. I stopped advertising. And I just like let the universe bring me people. I got amazing clients and just kind people, generous people, authentic people who are just people trying to be people, right? And not trying to like open up their third eye or like do anything weird. They're just
Right.
people being people. And so that's one thing I always advise people in this type of service business, like it's a service that I'm giving to somebody, is I trust that the universe brings me the right people in the right time in the right way. So I don't have to do anything. And it works. So
I think, yeah, we were talking earlier about how this was like a synchronicity, how we were like
Yeah.
same path in life almost, it seemed, and then wearing the same red.
Super weird. And I was kind of laughing too because I wasn't going to post. So all I was going to do was post like, hey, I have a YouTube channel if you guys want to check it out. And then my higher self was like, no, you need to invite people to come on your channel so that you can start connecting people. So part of what I teach people is you have the self, the community, and then the global community. Right. And so when we're moving up in healing, we're moving out of the self and into community. And then once we have our community squared away, we move into the global sphere. Right. So, like when you're describing to me, when you had sort of your spiritual awakening, you moved out of the self and into community.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
most of what you think about is your community.
Yeah.
Right. From what I'm hearing. So, in this world, in the YouTube world, right, is my goal is to take us out of the self because a lot of this is self-healing and it is about the individual, but moving us from the self into the community. That's how we make this positive change. The things that you worry about, those are the things we talk about here on a community level, right? Now, eventually, it will be on the global level and more people will watch this and maybe be motivated to start their own channels where they'll be doing the same type of positivity work or spiritual healing. And that's what I hope for. Right.
I thought about it myself to start a channel, but I think my direction is actually just through books. And I'm going to do the lazy way of going on people's podcasts, but not doing the work.
Hey, yeah. Hey, it's all good, man, because you are doing the work.
Yeah, I mean, it is a lot of work to write. I have about 60 pages so far going for me. And I plan to hopefully get closer to 300 pages, but that's just the outline so far.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I started writing a book not that long ago.
oh,
Um,
nice.
and
How
then
is it going?
uh, well, I started writing it like 4 years ago,
Mhm.
and you know,
Well,
there's
you
an
got so many
outline.
things going on now. It's hard
Yeah,
to balance everything.
there's an outline, okay? It exists. It's just not past the outline stage. Um, but it'll get finished at some point. I just like I say, I kind of go with the flow and kind of
Mhm.
figure it out as I go.
Well, it might
So,
also not be the right time maybe for you, you know, as well.
I think that I like doing more face-to-face work. I
Yeah.
like to describe to people using real world examples. Um, Not that I don't love reading. I obviously I have way too many books. I have so many books right now that I haven't even opened yet that I'm just like, "Oh, stop buying books." And I'm like, "But I can't. It's so great." Um, but a lot of people are what's the word? They're consuming information via video,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? On YouTube or, whatever platform. And so this is kind of a cool way to kind of still bring people content and for if people are interested to see the inner workings of my brain on any given day. Um, and one day there'll be a book and I'll be able to give it to people and I'll be so excited about it. But for now, this is it.
This is your
Mm,
path now. This
This
is
is
where
it.
you're meant to be. I think so
Mm.
because you're very natural at this, and
Oh, thank you.
I mean, this was a amazing interview so far. Or you would you call it a podcast? Yeah,
I don't know.
just a hangout.
I don't do labels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. YouTube channel, interview, talk, interrogation, whatever thing. It's meant to just be great. Okay, here we go. Thank you guys for participating. The universe does work in great ways, pulling people and opportunities together that should be connected together seem like their frequencies connect. Yes,
I agree.
absolutely.
I've,
So,
oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Oh, there's a synchronicity. There
Yeah,
you
there you go.
go. Every time I was actually I had a difficult situation at work. It's actually a really interesting story. It's kind of graphic.
Oh,
Um,
keep it PG, please, as much as
can it be
possible.
violent?
Um,
Just violent
it
words?
it depends.
I'll try. I'll test the
Yeah,
water. But,
it's okay. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
anyways, when I was making decisions on um, this choice, this path in my life, I saw so many different synchronicities. Like throughout a day, I saw like the numbers 333 or two two
Mm,
two like all day.
yeah.
And I was just like, what the heck? 1111 too.
Mm,
Um,
it's
and
my
it,
favorite one.
I see him occasionally. I see double digits, but I never see triple or quadruple digits
Mm,
ever, unless. And it was only during this big event, and once it was over, I stopped seeing him again.
yeah.
And it was a really
Usually it just
hard
means
decision
like
for me.
it's supposed to support you, right, in making that big decision.
Yeah,
You
but the
know.
big decision was actually, you remember the boss I was talking about?
Mhm.
I actually
That hates nature.
Yeah, I actually reported him as
Mm,
someone who could potentially harm himself or others.
mm, yeah.
Funny enough, he had a Marine drill instructor father
Hmm.
who raised him, who was also a drunk. So that bad combination, it changed him into almost animalistic, the way he
Yeah.
treated people. Like he always wanted to fight everybody. He gave a
Mm,
lot of threats to everyone, and then the last straw was when he talked about killing himself.
mm.
And then he stopped taking his anger management pills too.
Uh-oh.
That entire and this was going on for months. I should have reported it sooner, but me thinking, maybe it's just how he talks. I don't know, but
Yeah.
that's when I drew the line, when he stopped taking his anger management pills.
Yeah. So it gets scary.
But it felt like the biggest betrayal I have ever felt in my life, because it was like he was maybe not a father figure, but maybe a crazy uncle.
Yeah. Was this recently?
It was recent. Yeah, it was
Mm.
actually 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was that was probably one of the hardest choices because I either was loyal to him but risked. I mean, in looking back, it's not that hard of a choice, but I was either loyal to him and hoping for the best that he never did anything,
Yeah.
or I ruined his life, but in the process potentially saved people from being hurt or himself.
Right.
So
You know, it's so crazy. I've been in that situation a few times.
Right.
And just being like, well, I'm gonna ruin somebody's life, right? Like, okay. But what about the lives that that person's ruining?
right, yeah,
Right? Those things matter. Those people matter, right? And it's that boundary piece, right? You're not saying, "Hey, I'm going to do this so that I ruin his life."
right.
You're
That wasn't the
saying,
intention. Yeah,
right. The intention was this person needs help and I don't necessarily have the skills and tools to help them, but there are people out there who do have the skills and tools to help this person. So, I'm going to relinquish some of this control to make sure that I'm creating safety, that I'm creating love, that, all the things that you're wanting in your community.
right,
And that's the intention. Now, that person can view it as you ruining their lives. That's their choice. We all get to perceive our reality whatever way we so desire, right? And this is really kind of cool because this is what we've been talking on the channel. We've been talking a lot about something called radical forgiveness. Have you ever
Mhm.
heard of Ho'oponopono?
Say it again.
Ho'oponopono.
I can't say I have.
It's a Hawaiian forgiveness tradition.
Okay.
So essentially what radical forgiveness is saying like, I know my intention,
Mhm.
right? I know his intention. Neither one of us are operating on bad intention, right? We're both doing the best that we can. And the best that we can in this moment isn't so great, right? It just isn't. And that's life. That happens sometimes. And so we can give some of that grace and space to both parties and say, okay, well, moving forward, how do we make this better? Well, part of it is maybe making some reports, right? So as a hypnotherapist, you're going to be a mandatory reporter, which means you have no choice. You are legally obligated to make that report. I don't know if that's true in Michigan, but in Washington state, you are legally obligated to report that.
Right, right. Yeah,
You can be mad all you want, but I'm not losing my license for you, bro.
yeah, there's some really troubled people out there, and it's what is sad is that story it didn't end the way I wanted to. I wanted him to be able to. Well, I guess I was hoping the work would push him into seeing psychotherapy or
Mm.
a psychoanalyst. But that just didn't happen. He just got let go, and he didn't even know why he got let go because they couldn't tell him for risk of my personal safety.
Hmm.
Which, so I might eventually, when I leave this work, I might call him and tell him why, and maybe have that closure. Just hope he doesn't try to hunt me down.
Well, okay. On the other side of things, right?
Yeah.
Like I know in my darkest days, right? Because I've had dark days.
Right. Yeah. We all have.
As we all have, right? And if somebody had come to me in those dark days and been like, Angelina, you need help, right? I would have been like, F you. I don't need any help. I'm
Right.
whatever, blah, 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 blah. And that is how I reacted when people did come and say, hey, you're going a little far here.
Bye.
What do you mean, Scott?
I think he's saying bye.
Oh,
That'd be my guess.
I don't know. We'll see if he's still here to clarify. But yeah, so maybe in this is an opportunity, right? We all have to hit that rock bottom sometimes in order to become this good. We have choices to either overcome the rock bottom or succumb to it. Right.
I thought it was cool that I'm guessing you maybe, I don't know if you call it channeling, but you said, was this recent? Like, did you feel that that's what it was?
Yeah. So, I had a very similar experience when I was in the military where I had to report people when I left with some very severe consequences on my end. But but like, what can you do, right?
Yeah, I mean,
you got to do
we're
what you got to do. And it ended up with somebody else losing their life. And so I had to deal with, you know, intense guilt that my report potentially led to the ending of somebody else's life. And it started with me opening up
that's
my
hard.
mouth. Right. So, I've since been able to come to terms with that and sort of release that and let myself move forward. But it took a long time, like 10 years before I was like, okay, this wasn't my fault.
Right.
I had to do it. I did the best that I could in the moment. It was the right thing for me to do. And even though it didn't have the outcome I wanted, it did have the outcome I wanted in terms of change, right? Because everything there changed when that happened for the better. But it's unfortunate that it had to end for somebody else in such a horrible way.
And
So,
you weren't the person pulling the trigger, you know.
right.
So,
Sorry. You probably didn't ruin his life. You probably saved him from doing something wrong. Yeah. Right. I would agree.
I hope so. We haven't seen the end of this story yet. Who knows? Maybe he'll come back and try to, you know, do the violent thing is what I'm worried about now. But yeah.
Well, you know, all you can do is kind of put up precautions and kind of
we did. We're changing all the locks at the building, and then we made it so that the gate personnel, if they spot him, that they immediately call. So
yeah. My experience is like people, when that type of thing happens, those people usually go.
I would think so. Yeah.
They go and they figure out their lives and they come back stronger, right? I've never known somebody, well, I don't know a whole lot of people that I've harmed in that way, but they don't usually come back. They usually talk a big game, but at least so far in my life, they haven't resurfaced. So that's good. So, all right. Well, this has been fun. I hope that you enjoyed your time here on the channel.
Yeah.
And you'll want to come back again. We
For
talked
sure,
about a lot of wonky weirdness. Here, let me pull this up so we can see. Yeah, you probably saved him for himself or others. Tiny phone, sorry, weird letters. Yeah. No, totally. Okay, super side note, because I want to end this like on a happy note.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
So super random side note. I've been learning German since I was in junior high. And I'm not going to say how long that was because I don't want to be old, but a long time. Okay.
I thought, you look like you're 20.
Yeah, I'm older than 20.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
There's no way.
I'm a bit older than 20. I mean, I'm not collecting Social Security yet, but but yeah, so I've been learning German. I got this Duolingo app, which I'm not affiliated with Duolingo, but if you guys don't have Duolingo, you should definitely get it because it's so cool. Like, because you can learn any language. And this has been the really cool thing I've started doing. You can even learn music now, and it helps you learn math and all kinds of stuff. So I'm learning German and I'm learning music. But anyway, so on this Duolingo app, somehow I got this new phone. I got an iPhone. And somehow I changed the settings so that my keyboard is in German. My keyboard is like a German keyboard. So like send is öffnen and let me look.
Did you accidentally do that? Or did
I didn't mean to. Leerzeichen is spacebar. Yeah, I did not mean to do that. I also don't know how to change it back. So what happens when I get to typing really fast is I start, because it's got more letters, right?
Yeah.
I start going fast and then things start getting misspelled and it takes me forever to respond because I'm having to like fix it. And so if you're ever wondering why it takes me forever to respond, any of you who text me, or if you ever text me, it's because I'm trying to correct it so that it's in English. And it auto corrects the German too. So like if I spell it wrong, it'll pop up with a German word.
So maybe have you tried using like your computer to look up how to change it back?
I haven't yet because it's kind of a fun story. So I just kind of
It's fun,
accept it.
yeah.
Yeah, I kind of accept it as just like me being totally weird. But eventually I'm gonna have to change it back because it does kind of get a little bit in the way of life.
Just like you said, you're what's it called? A glutton for
Yeah, I'm a
torture,
glutton for punishment.
for
It's just like,
punishment. Yeah.
God, it's just gotta be complicated.
Yeah.
But yeah. So thank you so much for being on the show, Dan. I'm so excited to see how you progress. Hopefully I get to be one of the first people who read your book because I
Yeah.
love past life regression work. And for any of you guys who are new to the channel, please make sure you like this video, subscribe, hit that little bell so you get notified whenever I come live. Hopefully Dan will want to come back sometime in
Yeah.
the
Oh, yeah.
future. Eventually it'd be kind of cool if we get like 5 or 6 of us on here from the class and we can all kind
That'd
of
be
talk
fun.
about our experience. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I was thinking of having a Zoom call or trying to set one up with everybody in that chat. So
Yeah. It's so hard because like anytime I'm in a conversation with somebody, I'm always like, oh my gosh, this would be so cool on the YouTube channel.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
people would find this conversation fascinating, right? And imagine like 6 people who think like we do all in one space. Like it's going to be great conversations. So yeah,
Yep.
cool. Any last questions, comments, or concerns?
Well, I'd just like to thank you, Angelina, for having me on. My first ever public appearance, I guess. So.
Yeah, you did great. I'm surprised. You seem so relaxed, so calm, so open.
It was the hypnosis earlier. No.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But no, thank you for having me on. Hopefully, yeah, we can talk again and maybe offline too. I do have other questions just regarding how your work because it's so interesting. So,
Yeah, for
we'll
sure.
have to go
Always.
into it.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you all of you for watching. If you're watching this now or in the replay, feel free to ask us your questions. Leave us your comments. I'll be able to text Dan and be like, hey, somebody asked, why you're wearing a red coat. What's up with that? I'll be able to ask him those questions and get those back to you guys. I just am so happy that I'm able to bring you guys more people in our community who are healers, who are educational, who are just doing so much different types of work. It's just really awesome to me to be able to nerd out with all of you. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Dan, for being my guest and being so flexible. So
yeah,
right.
It was awesome. And the red coat is because it's
Yeah,
cold. It's cold in Michigan.
Right. Yeah. So I forget that you're in. I have some friends who live in. I'm pretty sure. No, they live in Illinois. I always think they live in Michigan, but they live in Illinois.
It's the same place.
Yeah, basically it's the same place. So yeah, I've only driven through once and I was like, yeah, I think I'm good.
It's a flyover state.
Yeah, for sure.
But
all right. Well, thank you so much. And I'll probably talk to you in a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. All righty.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.